radio program. My name is Pastor Natalie, and I'll be sharing with you today. Let's dig right in and let's go to Romans 5 and verse 3, and I'm going to read it out of the NLT translation. And it says, "We can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials, for we know that they help us develop endurance. And endurance develops strength of character, and character strengthens our confident hope of salvation." So we can rejoice when hard times come. We can rejoice in hard situations. We can rejoice when problems arise. Because what this is really saying here is we can do hard things. There's going to be hard things in life. There might have already been hard things in life. I know I've gone through hard things and I'm not even that old yet. And hard things come all the time. Being a Christian, that doesn't mean that your life just becomes all butterflies and glitter and just sunshiny every day. It means that God will never leave you, that He's going to get through you with this, and that you can rejoice your way through. Why? Because when we go through things, we know that we're always going to come out on top if we go through with Christ. So growing up and becoming adult doesn't mean that you won't be told what to do anymore. As adults, we all know this. As kids, we all think, well, when I grow up, nobody's going to be able to tell me what to do anymore, and I'm going to be the boss, and I'm going to be the big one and big head and in charge, and I'm just going to do whatever I want. But then you get a job, but then you live in America, but then you have taxes, and then you have police laws and speed laws and all these things that you have to follow. There's laws that you have to follow if you don't want to go to jail. And even then, when you're in jail, you don't get to just do whatever you want. Yes, we're free, but we have liberty, and liberty means freedom with responsibility. It's not just free to do whatever you want. You can't just go down the street and go punch somebody in the face. You will get in trouble. And becoming an adult doesn't mean that there won't be bullies or mean people in your life, because guess what? Bullies grow up too. We've all seen bullies in the workplace, bullies in everyday life situations, bullies on the road. We've seen them all. And when you level up in life, that doesn't mean that life becomes easier. Let's just think of it like strength training. When you get stronger, that doesn't mean that the weight got lighter. It means that your body has become stronger to lift that, stronger to overcome those things. When we grow up, it doesn't mean that situations become less complicated. It means that we've become wiser to handle these situations. We have some life experience. We've gone through some things. We know how this works. And society has really nerfed things in life. They've put protective things on all the corners, warning labels on a coffee cup, caution, hot coffee. It's a coffee cup. Yes, it's going to be hot. They've really nerfed everything. Example, we got a Nintendo Switch for our gaming party, which we have during the school year for ages 9 to 18. It's very fun. It's free. It's the first and third Saturday of every month, so we will be getting back to that pretty soon here. But we had gotten the game Mario Kart, and as a kid, me and my siblings, we loved playing Mario Kart. So we thought, oh, well, we better just try out the game before we bring it to the other kids. So here we're playing it, and they've nerfed the game. So the game, you're driving on this road and you can fall off the road. Well, they've put bumpers on this game that if you kind of go towards the edge, it'll kind of push you towards the middle again so you can't fall off as easily. And we were playing this game and I'm like, what is with this? This driving, it's become weird on here. And here we found you can turn that off. But they've nerfed things. People don't like doing hard things anymore. Just look at the jungle gyms nowadays. When I was a kid, they were the metal jungle gyms that you would bake your legs on the way down. It was like a baking pan in the sun, but it was fun. Instead of rocks, I bet they had like a bed of nails. I don't know. It was just, you were tough in those days. And nowadays, everything's nerfed. They have handlebars on everything, safety things on everything that, oh, heavens, you might scratch yourself or hurt yourself or bump something. And that's not helping us. Because according to this, hard things make us better. A lot of times we want to avoid failure in life. We don't want to fail at things, but failure can be one of your greatest teachers. Not saying that you try to fail at things, but you learn a lot of things. I know I have my own business, my siblings, we all have our own business. And sometimes the hardest customers that you've ever had in your whole life Man, did they teach you a lot. I learned the most from some of the hardest customers. I've had people troubleshoot things and message me, and they're just so mad. And I've learned so much dealing with the hardest customers that if I wouldn't have had those, I wouldn't have had the wisdom then for later on when it was a sneaky customer or when things happen later on. Because just having an easy life, that doesn't help us. Look at David in the Bible. Who made David king? It was Goliath. The largest obstacle in his life made him king, but he didn't start there. He started in the fields watching his father's sheep. He was worshiping God. He was writing the Psalms. He was spending day in and day out with God and just in his presence and just loving life. But it wasn't just all sunshines and fluffy sheep and just petting them and feeding them and, oh, they're so cute. No, there were things out there. I bet it first started with a fly. That he probably had some flies around and he had to get rid of those. Then some mosquitoes at night. Then maybe there was a raccoon or a badger or whatever. But then there came the bear. Then there came the lion. And he killed those things. And he said he killed them with his hands. God taught David how to war. He was probably in that fight and he's like, okay, God, how are we going to fight this thing? Because this is bigger than the fly. This is bigger than the gopher. This is bigger than that rat that tried to steal my lunch. This is bigger than the raccoon that was bothering me last night. This is big. How are we going to do this, God? And God taught him how to get through that. He grabbed the lion by the beard and killed him. That's a hard thing. And this is just a teenager. He's just a teenager here. And he was doing hard things. He leveled up in life from doing those, and he learned from watching those sheep. If he wouldn't have done those hard things, he would have never been able to defeat Goliath. If he wouldn't have started in those fields. Sometimes in life, there's times and seasons when we're behind the scenes, when nobody sees us, when we think we're alone, that this is just wasted time. But you know what? This is training season for you. There is never wasted time when you are spending time with God, learning Him, being with Him, being in His presence, just having all that time in life, because God is setting you up for success. That when you are in those hard times with Him, when it's the behind the scenes and He's training you and you think the littlest things, it can even be the things at home. How you deal with your spouse, how you deal with your kids, how you respond to things in life, driving down the road. How do you respond to that driver that cut you off? How do you respond to a car that comes out in traffic or somebody who's going slow in front of you? Do you know their whole story? Maybe they're in a rush to go to the hospital. Maybe they're having a bad day, or maybe their car is broken down. We don't know all these things, but our response to those situations, even the littlest things, putting the Tupperware away. How is our heart in that situation? I had a point where I was dealing with myself and I was putting the Tupperware away and it was left on the counter and I'm like, oh, I have to put the Tupperware away and I don't get why people can't just put it where it belongs. Then you open the Tupperware cabbage. Why is that the cupboard? And why is that thing always a battleground? And I'm taking things out and I'm like, oh, nobody ever puts the lids where they're supposed to go, and oh, this doesn't even have a lid, and why is this even in here? And then God stopped me and He's like, how is your heart on this? You know, life is too short to put the Tupperware away angry. And I stopped and I thought, oh my goodness, you're right. I can do this with a good attitude and be blessed doing it, or I could do it with a stinky attitude and then have it count as nothing. Because in Corinthians, it says that if it's not done in love, it's counted as nothing, useless, nada. It's vain. You put all the sweat and effort in and you get nothing back. So you know how long it took me to change my attitude? Just like that. I changed it. I'm like, ooh, I'm so thankful that we have this Tupperware. I'm so thankful. Oh, this one that's orange and I don't even know how it got stained like that. I'm so thankful that this is going in the cupboard. Oh, I'm so thankful I have a cupboard to put it in. You can change your attitude real quick. Real quick. I bet David had to do that as he's in the hot fields and his brothers are at home doing who knows what. And he's out there in the hot field with the stinky sheep. All by himself. It might be the heat of the day. There's flies everywhere and he's just hot and hangry. But you know what? You can bless God. You can rejoice in any situation. You can rejoice when the hardest things in life come. After David beat Goliath, his battle wasn't over then. We think, oh, I've overcome the hardest thing in my life. I'm done now. Now it's just all sunshine and flowers and I'm on top of the mountain. But guess what? There's always another mountain to overcome. Because after David killed Goliath, then Saul was constantly trying to kill David. Saul was trying to kill him, even though Saul said, after you kill Goliath, you can have my daughter, you can marry her, so that means no more taxes, you're set for life, you're now in the royal family, then you're going to just be right next to me, David, we're going to be buddy-buddy. After that, Saul got jealous, and Saul got tainted by his own thoughts, but David trusted God and God's timing. And finally, after so long, there were so many opportunities after opportunities that David could have killed Saul, and righteously so, because Saul had become a tyrant. And even all of David's men said, this is an opportunity from God. When Saul was in the cave and he was doing who knows what, and he was distracted, and all his men were like, this is your chance, David, kill him now. God is giving you this opportunity. Just take it, do it, save us from this. But David said, I will not take God's servant into my own hands. He was thinking, I'm not taking God's timing. I'm not pushing this forward. I'm not trying to get a promotion prematurely. Because you know what happens with premature babies? They're a blessing, but they're a lot more work than when a baby is fully developed. You have to really make sure that baby has the nutrition it needs, the safety it needs. You might even have to have it hooked up to all this machinery to help it just stay alive. That's what happens when you try to jump ahead and force yourself through promotion and try to get that premature promotion because you think the time is now, when God's really setting you up for success. David there, waiting on God's timing, that set him up in his kingly reign to have success throughout all his years, until he finally got lax on it, and him and Bathsheba. Anywho, that's a whole nother story. But David fought battle after battle until people started singing, Saul killed his thousands, but David his 10,000s, and Saul got jealous and was trying to kill him every chance he got. But David said that God taught his hands to war. He didn't even take that as his own, that he did it himself. God will teach you how to do hard things. And he'll teach you how to win every time. In battle, there's not just the guys on the front line. There's not just the generals. But every smart army will have a strategist. Now, a strategist, they're probably not in the front lines. No, they're behind the scenes, and they're watching what that enemy's doing. They're studying them, and they're looking at the landscape, and they're looking at where this battle's going to go, and they're determining the timing of it, and they're strategizing. So maybe you have to go around the back, or maybe you have to go up this hill, or you have to start from this advantage point. They're doing all of that to help you win, so that you on the battlefield will win every time. Well, we have a strategist, and we have the one who knows the beginning from the end, who knows the start and the finish, who knows all the ins and outs. He knows what's on the enemy's mind. He knows what's on the enemy line, and he will strategize for you and make you win every time. God always sets you up for success. It might look like you're losing on the outside, but God knows. He's like, ooh, if you follow me through this path, it might look like you're losing, but you're going to win. You're going to win, but we have to follow him, and that's the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is our strategist. David always took the time to go to God first and ask him how he should fight each battle, and that would lead him into success. Saul started out that way. He did. He started out that way. He was a man after God, but then he started to get out ahead of God. He wasn't going to wait for the priest to come and pray over this. He wasn't going to wait for him to make the sacrifice. He just wanted it now, and he wanted to get it done because his men were pressuring him. He was pressured by people, pressured by time, pressured by circumstances. He was letting all those pressures of hard things, it beat down on his endurance. And then he got out of the will of God, and then he went crazy. Because he let his mind go, he got out of the will of God, and he got away from God, and he thought he could do it on his own. But David didn't do that. So life is not a sprint. Thank God it's not a sprint. It's an endurance run. We're in this for the long run. We're not just in it to win this little fight right here. No, we're in it to win the battle. If you've ever run track, I was homeschooled, so I never ran track, but I started running just later in life. Anywho, I would just run a little bit. I never ran like a marathon or anything, but there's a big difference when you are a long distance runner versus a sprinter. My dad was in track, and he knew some of this when he was younger. And there's a big difference. When you are running a long distance, you're going to pace yourself, because if you don't pace yourself and you run like a sprinter, you're not going to be able to run very long. And God wants us to win the long run. He wants us to win the long run in the end. He wants us to win the whole thing. And one of the biggest battles we'll ever have to learn to fight and win and keep correcting and keep working on is our mind and our flesh. Those are one of the two biggest things that we have to learn to overcome, that we have to learn to win, that we have to learn to fight through. And your mind, that's the biggest battlefield in your life. Let's go to Romans 8 and verse 6. Romans 8 and verse 6, and I'm going to read this out of the Message Bible. Those who trust God's action in them find that God's Spirit is in them. You know what? Let's start out in verse 5. Those who think they could do it on their own end up obsessed with measuring their own moral muscles, but never getting around to exercising it in real life. Those are the people who are like, oh yeah, I'm really strong. Have you ever seen the little videos with the little kids? And they're like, look at my muscles. They're so big. And they're like, oh, and the mom says, oh, are they bigger than daddy's? Yeah. The little boy goes, yeah, I'm much stronger than daddy. What is he doing? He's obsessed with measuring his own muscles. When really, in reality, if you put a weight in front of this kid and the same weight in front of his dad, I bet you 1,000 million bajillion % that his dad is going to be stronger than him. Why? Because he has time under his belt. But when you are just obsessed with measuring your own muscles and your own mind and your own timing and your own strength, you can become a little bit delusional on things, and you can become a little bit offset, thinking that it's truth. In your mind, it's truth. But you know what's a good reality setter? Is when you get in front of those weights and you have to lift those. Or when you get in life and a trouble comes or a circumstance comes. All right, I'll tell you a story about this. So in my mind, I was like, I'm super brave. So my aunt has a lake home next to us, and she had a bat in her house. So me and John are like, oh, we'll come over and we'll take care of this. So we grab a tennis racket, a badminton racket, and we're going over there. I think John had some other tools and stuff, and I go in and I say to myself, I am super brave. Oh, I don't care about bats. Now, if it was a spider, I might care about that, but oh, it's a bat. I'm super brave. So we get into her house. She's like, it's in the basement stairwell. So I start heading over to the basement stairwell. John's behind me. I'm like, John, I have this. I'm super brave. I start going down the stairs. I'm about halfway down the stairs, and something out of my peripheral vision is the bat, and it flies by. I don't know what happened. My body took over, and my lower half of my body went up the stairs without me even trying, and all of a sudden I'm screaming, and I'm running past John, and I'm up the stairs, and the whole time I'm thinking, oh, I'm super brave. What was I doing there? It was in my own mindset that I thought I could do big things with bats. I couldn't go down there. My body would not allow me to. So a lot of times we can think to ourselves, oh, I'm stronger than this. Oh, I've got this. Oh, yeah. But until you go through it yourself and you see how you actually respond in that situation, that's when the rubber hits the road. We had another situation. We were going for a walk as a family, and a dog came and it charged us. And my first instinct is, oh, I would protect my mom. It was my mom, sister, brother, and I going for a walk. And I'm like, oh, I'm super brave. Again, my body took over. John, he got all big and he went, hey, yelling in front of us. Kelly just stood still. Mom didn't really do anything. I think she yelled at the dog. I ran and hid behind my mom. My body took over and I'm behind her. I'm like, how did I get here? I think I teleported. I don't even know how I got there. But your body will take over. And here my first thought is, I get it. I'm scared of bats. I'm not going to do that. But a dog, I would protect them. Until the rubber hits the road. You can think in your mind things that, oh, well, if this situation came up, I know what I would do. But until that situation comes, you have to train yourself. We have to become highly skilled at hard things. And the only way to do that, and not just hype ourselves up in our mind, and then when the situation comes where our body takes over and we run up the stairs, or we hide behind our mom as we think, oh, I'm going to protect her. We need to become highly skilled, and that's done in a non-frightening moment. That's done in the times where you're training yourself. We had a police officer come, and not in a bad way, he was coming to train us, and he was showing us our building and things that we could do for protection and all this stuff. And he said that this door lock, you need to change this, because when you are in a high-stressed situation, all your fine motor skills go away. You don't rise to the occasion, you fall back to your training. And thank God David did not just fall back on, or did not try to rise to the occasion. No, he fell back on his training with God. You can tell what he was doing in that field with God. Him and God, they were doing the hard stuff. If he wouldn't have done the lion and the bear first, He would have did a me with the bat. He would have did a me with the dog if he would have gotten in front of Goliath, thinking, oh yeah, I'm all big and tough, until Goliath starts coming at him. Then he would have run for the hills. He would have been like everybody else, hiding from him. But he put in the hard work, and he trained with God first. He trained hard with God. He was in there day in and day out until he knew his covenant with God so much that he got so righteously angry when he saw all the army hiding from this one Goliath. All of them. Some of them were highly skilled, highly trained warriors. They're hiding from him. And he goes out there and he says, you uncircumcised, you no covenant nobody, how dare you come against the army of God? And he said, I'm not just going to take you. I'm going to take your sword, cut your head off with your own sword. Then I'm going to take this whole army here, and all of Israel will know, and all of the earth will know that there is a God in Israel. And that is one of the most known stories throughout the world, is David and Goliath. He prophesied that. But what did he have to do first? He had to get such a working relationship and knowledge of God. He had to overcome his thoughts out in that field. He had to overcome his own obsessing with trying to compare himself. No, he had to put himself in how God sees him. And God saw him as an overcomer. He had to have known that, because he pushed down King Saul's armor, and he said, no, I don't need that. I need what I've been highly trained in. And that was his sling and rocks, and he killed that giant, and he did exactly what he said. All right, back to the Message Bible. Whew, praise God. Back to the message. It says, but never get around to exercising it in real life. They're just all talk and no show. Those who trust God's action in them find that God's Spirit is in them, living and breathing God. Obsession with self in these matters is a dead end. Attention to God leads us out into the open, into a spacious, free life. You want a real spacious, free life? You take attention to God. You think on Him. You put your thoughts on how He sees you. You put your thoughts on what He says you are in Him, not on your own, in Him. He leads us out into the open, into a spacious, free life. Focusing on the self is the opposite of focusing on God. Focusing on the self is the opposite of focusing on God. Anyone completely absorbed in self ignores God. So if you're ignoring God, you're absorbed with yourself. Self ignores God, ends up thinking more about self than God. That person ignores who God is and what He is doing, and God isn't pleased at being ignored. So there was a lady, and she was a minister, and she said she got evangelized by the Church of Satan. And she said, it actually shocked me more than I thought. So she said these people approached her, and they were from the Church of Satan, and she goes, oh, so do you worship Satan there? And they said, no, we don't worship Satan. She says, oh, well, what do you do? They said, we love ourselves first. That's what we do. And isn't that what the devil did in the very beginning before he even was cast out of heaven? He said, I'm going to put my throne above God's. I'm going to be the one. It was all self. When you start getting obsessed with yourself, you make God small. You ignore God. Oh man, I never want to get to that point. And when you put yourself, loving yourself first before God, that's what the Church of Satan does. That's what Satanists do. They love themselves first. Now, what did God say? God said, love the Lord your God with all, the first thing, number one, like priorities, number one is love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind. What is that? That's with all your thoughts. Your soul is your mind, will, and emotions. Love Him with all of that. Every part of you needs to love God first. Then the second commandment is just like it. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. So you can't hate yourself. You can't always be, well, I'm a worthless worm just wallowing on the floors of the Lord. No, you need to love others as much as you love yourself. But number one needs to be God. And one of the biggest battles we have to learn to fight is correcting our mind and flesh. That is loving God first. Giving into the flesh and just doing whatever you want, that's easy. That's easy. Babies, little babies know how to do this. Toddlers know how to do this. What do? When they're hot, they cry. When they're hungry, they cry. And they let you know. They don't care what time of night it is. They will wake you up because they want something, they need something, and you need to provide it for them. Toddlers are the same way. I want that toy and I want that now. And if I don't have that, I'm going to throw a fit. Well, it's easy. But the outcome is death, and the dead end is prison. I know adults in their later 70s, and they are so consumed with themselves. I know even adults in their 90s who are so consumed with themselves that they're literally self-consuming themselves, and they are the unhappiest people I know. They're sick, they're tired, it's all about them. When you only focus on your own happiness and trying to make yourself happy in every situation you are, it better be just happy and about me and the best thing I could ever live, that's going to be the most unhappy life. Have you ever tried to look at the stars? When you look at them directly, they disappear. You can't see them. But when you look at the star next to them, or maybe out of the peripheral, out of your mind, then they become so clear. It's the same with happiness. When you are just focused on you, yourself, your own, and you're just happy that this better make me happy, this better be the best thing for me, you're going to miss out on it every time. But if you serve God, you serve people, you make other people happy, you let others go first, you love on others first, you're giving and you're generous, you're going to be the happiest person ever. The happiest person ever. Everything with God is inside out. Everything with God is backwards compared to how the world has it. The world has it where, I'm going to live the American dream. I'm just going to travel and have all these experiences myself, and I better be the first one in line, and I better get my food now, and if it's not right, you're going to hear a stink from me about it, and it better be good because it's all about me, selfie, I. That's how the world is. Let's go to Romans 12 and verse 1. And I'm going to read this out of the Message Bible. Romans 12, verse 1. So here's what I want you to do. God helping you. Thank God he helps us. Take your everyday, ordinary life. You're sleeping, eating, going to work, and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. Everything you enjoy, everything you need, your sustenance, your sleep even, your eating, you're going to work, your everyday life, and place it before God as an offering. That means that you say, okay, God, how would you like me to have this? Okay, God, how would you like me to respond to this at work? How would you like me to be? What should my identity? What should my feelings? What should my life? What should my waking and sleeping be? What time should I go to bed, God? What time would you like me to go to bed? Maybe he wakes you up in the morning to pray. Maybe he wakes you up in the middle of the night and he wants you to read your Bible. Are you going to go, well, I have work in the morning. I have to sleep, God. Not right now. That's putting you, yourself, your own things, your own thoughts in charge. And if you do that, let's keep going. Embracing what God does for you is the best thing you can do for him. Don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit into it without even thinking. Instead, fix your attention on God. You'll be changed from the inside out. Readily recognize what he wants from you and quickly respond to it. Unlike the culture around you always dragging you down to its level of immaturity, God brings the best out of you, develops well-formed maturity into you. When we put God first in every part of our life, that's how you can have the Zoe kind of life, the God kind of life, the supernatural, exciting, the most powerful, anointed, the best life there is. But it all comes down to you're sleeping, you're eating, you're going to work, you're walking around life, everything you think, everything you say, your inside words even count. You need to lay those down as a sacrifice to God. I'll tell you one more story. So Kelly, one time we were going to go on a family vacation and God said to her, you want the best vacation? And she was like, yes, I want to have the best vacation. How do I do that? So God said to her, this is how you have the best vacation ever. You make it about others. And she thought, what? How is that supposed to make this the best vacation for me? How is that supposed to make me happy? If I'm serving others, how am I going to be served? How am I going to be pampered and loved? So she thought, okay. So she trusted God and she did it. She made the vacation about others. She put others first, what they want to do first. And she said that was the best vacation she ever had. That was the best vacation. You hear this a lot about people that maybe at Christmas time or Thanksgiving, instead of presents, they'll go and they'll serve food to the homeless, or they'll go and they'll serve other people. And they found that that's the best vacation, or that's the best holiday they ever had. When you make it about loving God and loving others and loving what God loves, which is people, that's how you become happy. That's how you find real happiness in life. And you know what? When you become really highly skilled at hard things, and you put sometimes loving others can be the hardest thing in life. Loving others can be the hardest thing, but when you do that, you make that sacrifice, trusting God that He is good and He's going to make this situation be good for you, man, there's nothing like it. There is nothing like it. You grow to maturity. You find such joy and peace and happiness in life when you lay that down as a sacrifice for God. Lay that down as an offering and say, God, I love you first and I love you most. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day, and God bless you.